Let's get to some of the vol action. Remember, you can run this report for yourselves anytime you want. CME Group and CVOL, type those both into your browsers. Then set the high-low range to 1 week, and then go for the aggregates tab, and that will get you effectively the 1 week in CVOL report. Let's start with the energy aggregate CVOL. And by the way, we got a bit of a mixed bag. We got a little more than half of our candidates this week pinning the needle to the downside from a vol perspective, which again, heading into the start of the summer, kind of what you'd expect. Then we got a few outliers out there, like our number one here, energy, pinning the needle to the upside right now. When you hear those WTI numbers, you're probably not surprised by that. The energy aggregate CVOL, nearly a 56 right now, 55.92, up 3.63 points just today. Popping hard today. That is the high for the week, below 52.19, so getting some juice back on the energy front. Below it, we have the aggregate commodities CVOL, 37.37, up about 1.5 points today. That is also the high for the week. The low is 35.89. So those are our two pinning the needle to the upside this week. Then below it, we have the aggregate ag products CVOL, kind of a mixed bag there. 20.28 right now, off about 0.2 or so today. Not the low for the week though. The low for the week was 19.96. The high 20.47, so kind of hanging out in the middle to upper portion of its very tight weekly range there. And then the rest of them are all pinning the needle to the downside, listeners. Let's start off in the treasuries. The treasury price vol at about a 6.07 to be precise, off about 1/4 point today. So 1/4 point when you're starting at about a 6 handle is actually a pretty decent move. That is the low for the week, the high 6.73. So treasury price vol coming in nearly 3/4 point this week. Again, that may not sound like much when you're talking about, energy or some of these other more volatile asset classes, but treasuries, you're starting at around a 6. So 3/4 point is a big vol move to the downside. Below it, we have the FX CVOL, 8.09, off about 1/4 point today. That is the low level for the week. The high, 9.26. So another one coming in nearly 1.25 points on the week, which again, you're starting a little bit north of 9. That's a pretty big move in FX vol as well. Below it, we have the aggregate metals CVOL, 18.75, off nearly a full point just today, about 0.84. That is the low for the week, the high 20.19. So in spite of all this action we're seeing on the metals front, metals aggregate vol coming back to earth this week. And at the bottom of our list, we have the treasury yield volatility, always the largest number on our list at a 105, pretty much even, off 3.16 points just today. That is the low for the week, the high 115.64. So yield vol coming crashing back to earth as well this week. So kind of a tale of two tapes on the vol front. Some things getting a little bit juicier this week, and the rest coming crashing back to earth